And then from doing that for a long time, you tackled the Clarence Thomas hearings happen.
Yeah, I was sitting in the hearing room during when Anita Hill first like swore to tell the truth in her demure blue suit. I was sitting there, and
Why were you sitting there?
because, to be honest with you, because the Journal had relatively few women still in the Washington Bureau. And I think Al Hunt felt he needed to have a woman covering those hearings.
From the get-go, or once the Anita Hill thing? Because I'm trying to remember now.
No, I didn't cover the Clarence Thomas confirmation until
I
she
see.
made her allegations of sexual harassment.
That moment when what people were thinking would be a conventional confirmation process, even though it could have been quite dramatic, suddenly this whole thing erupted. And it's kind of a forerunner of a lot. Uh, uh, what was that like? And I mean, and tell us what the atmosphere was in those hearings once that began to happen, and what you saw about the political parties and how they responded.
Well, on some level, it was absurd because you had the Senate Judiciary Committee at that time was all male and all white. And both of the figures involved in the story were Black. And Anita Hill obviously was a Black woman facing this completely clueless group of senators who barely knew what sexual harassment was. I mean, they were still in the land of, but he didn't touch you. They didn't understand anything about it. And so the hearings were kind of crazy and included things like a pube affidavit,
Yes.
which was some opposition research that Clarence Thomas's side and the Republicans in the Senate introduced that was the affidavit from some of Anita Hill's students at the University of Oklahoma who claimed she put pubic hair in their exams when she returned them. I mean, it was just kind of crazy, but I think those hearings had a big impact in that they did put the issue of sexual harassment out into the public. Really, I think those hearings made it an issue that most people did suddenly know about. And of course, it was an important step in terms of Thomas was confirmed, by the slimmest margin in history of the rightward turn of the Supreme Court, which we now see is so solidified.
But we also, I mean, there were another thing that I remember was that someone, I think it was City Paper, dug up his porn records.
Oh yeah,
So this was also one of these moments when Pandora's box was opened in a public way about things like that. Although I guess,
I mean, I was sitting across, right? The press table was just one table of reporters. A
right.
long table would be, I mean, you see the mobs of reporters covering the January 6th hearings, and it was mostly men. And I was seated across from Maureen Dowd, who was covering the hearings for the New York Times and covered them brilliantly, and in a very unique way
I have to
because
say that
she had just, a great woman's eye on these proceedings. But when, like, the words Long Dong Silver, which was the title of one of the movies Clarence Thomas was describing to Anita Hill in the office, when that was said, I mean, I didn't know Maureen at all, and our eyes locked because here we're sitting in this Rococo room in the Senate, and I mean, who'd heard the words pubic hair or
Silver.
silver talked about? I mean, it was incredible.